Hey guys, in this month's Historical Fiction 101, I'm going to be talking about how I got into historical fiction. This is the start of my brand new Historical Fiction 101 series. You all may be wondering, well, this is a weird place to start. Why don't you start with a video defining historical fiction and talking about the subgenres of historical fiction? That is a video that I have actually already done. So if you want to hear me define historical fiction and go further into some of the subgenres and give some recommendations, I will put that video at the very end of this video for you to click on. And that video, I'm going to also rename it and put Historical Fiction 101 at the beginning of the title, so that way it can also be part of this series. So yeah, talking about how I got into historical fiction, sort of a reader history, I guess we shall say. I have always been into historical fiction, pretty much a genre that I got into at a very early age, weirdly enough. The best way to get into historical fiction, I don't think you can just kind of jump right into it, because I feel if you just jump into historical fiction, that's probably a horrible way, because you're bound to probably read material that you have absolutely no interest in. So the way I got into it personally was really all about the TV shows and the movies that I was watching. And then also kind of my favorite subject matter when, in elementary school and middle school, when I would take my history classes, what subjects I was interested in history. So yeah, for me, it's a combo of movies and television, and then my favorite subjects within history every year. So let's time travel back to when I was 11 years old. 1997 must have been a great year for me, because there was a couple things that happened in 1997 when I was 11. The cartoon Anastasia came out, and that was about a orphan girl named Anya who she just wanted to escape her orphanage. So she finally heads out and she runs across these two con men who are looking for the Grand Duchess Anastasia. Little do they know, Anya is actually the real Anastasia, and she doesn't realize it either. I freaking loved this animated cartoon. It is the cartoon that sent me into my headlong obsession into Russian history, more specifically like Tsar Nicholas II and Rasputin and Anastasia and all that mess. The cartoon is horribly inaccurate. There's no denying that. Nothing about it is 100% correct. But what I loved about the cartoon was just how fun it was, how captivating. I loved the music, I loved the characters, and because of all those things, that's what really made me interested to learn more about the Romanoffs. I remember watching the cartoon. I had seen it in theaters, and I remember on the car ride home I was asking my parents about that, if it was a true story, and they were telling me it was a true story. And then to me, my 11-year-old self, I was absolutely devastated when they told me that that entire family had been murdered and that they were all dead, and Anastasia, she wasn't alive like the cartoon was portraying. So yeah, I wanted to continue my obsession with the Romanoffs, and so one of the earliest books I got was the Royal Diaries series. This one focused on Anastasia, the last Grand Duchess. And this is just a mock-up of a diary that Anastasia could have had. I just really loved this diary format because at the time I was kind of about the same age as Anastasia as she's writing in this book, and so I was just utterly captivated, and I just felt like I could connect in a way. So moving out of kind of more of the children's fiction, I wanted to start going more into adult fiction related to the Romanoffs. And then that's when I got The White Russian by Tom Bradby. And this is about a detective during the last years of the Romanoffs, and he's investigating these mysterious murders, and they somehow kind of connect back to the Romanoffs, and it's just, oh, so absolutely gripping. If you're looking for a great historical mystery thriller, this is for you. And then after that book, one of the next things I went to was the Romanoff Prophecy by Steve Barry, and this book actually paved the way for me getting into books that had both a modern setting but then also a historical setting. The modern setting of this is about a lawyer who learns that some of the Romanoffs may actually be alive, and so he's searching for this missing Romanoff because this is sort of an alternative future also that the Russian people want the Tsarist monarchy back, and so that's why he's looking for this missing Romanoff. And then also there's a historical aspect about how the missing Romanoff children might have lived. So yeah, it's a nice little combo of history and modern. The next big thing that happened to me when I was 11-year-old was the release of Titanic, starring Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. You guys, my obsession with Titanic was a bit wild. I'm kind of embarrassed. Seriously, Titanic, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I just love the huge epic scale. It's what first introduced me to Kate and Leo, and they are still some of my favorite actors to this day. So yeah, some of the first books that I got into because of Titanic was another diary. This one, Dear America, Voyage on the Great Titanic, the diary of Margaret Ann Brady. Just like the Anastasia diary, I just loved how this was written, how it was in the format of a diary, and also the girl was about my same age at the time. And then I also got Titanic Crossing by Barbara Williams, another kids fiction. And then I moved my way into a bit more of a young adult. I'm assuming that's what these books were considered at the time. I'm not quite sure. But it was a two-part series. The first being Titanic, The Long Night, and the second book, Remembering the Titanic, both by Diane Ho. I was horribly obsessed with these books when I was in middle school. I read them repeatedly. You probably can't tell, but these books, I've read them so much they're kind of about to fall apart. And if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you guys probably realize, hey, why haven't you mentioned anything with the Tudors yet? You're always reading historical fiction about the Tudors. Well, I didn't really get into the Tudors until I was about 17 years old. It was about 2003, I want to say. I think I was 17 at the time, and this mini-series aired on PBS, I think simply just called Henry VIII, and it starred Ray Winstone and Helena Bonham Carter and Emily Blunt. And I don't think at the time I had heard anything else about the Tudors. It was kind of my first foray into the subject matter. Because at the time, I don't think I realized how many of Henry VIII's wives were about to die in that miniseries. I remember watching that miniseries kind of thinking, oh my god, Anne Boleyn just died. So it was some time after I watched that miniseries that I discovered Philippa Gregory, The Other Boleyn Girl, which is one of my most favorite novels, favorite historical fiction novels also. The Other Boleyn Girl tells the story of Mary Boleyn as she witnesses everything that is going on with her sister Anne Boleyn. The Other Boleyn Girl was just such an influential book to me. It's hard to explain how influential it was to me because it really just opened up my eyes to a whole new genre. Even though I had already been reading historical fiction, a lot of the historical fiction I had kind of already been reading was a lot of kids fiction and young adult fiction, and I think this was kind of one of the first instances I got into adult fiction. And because of this book, I just continued my obsession with not only the Tudors, but Philippa Gregory, who is just one of the best in historical fiction. So yeah, a pretty lengthy explanation of my reader history on how I got into historical fiction. Like I said, if you're having a hard time getting into the subject, look at the TV shows you watch and the movies and what interests you in you know, elementary school and middle school and high school. And then kind of vice versa, if you don't like historical movies or television shows, or history wasn't your favorite subject, it's probably an indicator to you that historical fiction is probably not the genre for you, and you shouldn't force yourself to get into a genre you don't like. But yeah, to this day, I just absolutely love historical fiction, and I just don't ever see myself never not reading it. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you liked this Historical Fiction 101 video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.